Before you say a single word the next time a police officer walks up to your car window, you need to watch this video, because what you are about to learn could be the difference between driving home tonight and being placed in handcuffs on the side of the road. Seniors across this country are being ticketed, cited, and in some cases, arrested, not because they did anything wrong, not because they are criminals, but because they said 5 specific words that handed the officer everything he needed to escalate the stop. And here is what makes this so dangerous. These are words you were probably raised to say. Words that feel polite. Words that feel safe. Words your generation was taught to use when speaking to authority figures. But in the legal world of a traffic stop, those 5 words are a trap. And once they are out of your mouth, you cannot take them back. I have spent years studying how law enforcement operates during traffic stops, and I can tell you without hesitation that this is one of the most overlooked vulnerabilities for older drivers in America today. So if you are over the age of 60, or if you have a parent or grandparent who drives, you need to stay with me through this entire video, because what I am about to share could save you from a criminal record, a suspended license, or worse. And if you are new to this channel, right now, before we go any further, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We release new videos every single week breaking down your legal rights in situations that could affect you, your finances, your freedom, and your future. No legal jargon. No confusing language. Just your rights in plain English. Now let us get into it. To understand why these 5 words are so dangerous, you first need to understand how a traffic stop actually works from the officer's perspective. When an officer pulls you over, they already have a goal in mind. That goal is not necessarily to give you a ticket. Their goal is to gather information. Every question they ask, every comment they make, every moment of small talk is a data collection exercise. Officers are trained in what is called conversation-based investigation, which is a polite way of saying they are trained to get you talking, and once you are talking, they are listening for anything that can be used to justify a deeper look into you, your vehicle, or your history. Older drivers are particularly vulnerable to this dynamic for a very specific reason. Seniors were raised in an era where respect for authority meant full cooperation, complete transparency, and never questioning a police officer. That is a beautiful value in many contexts. But in the context of a traffic stop in 2026, that instinct to be fully open, to explain yourself, to be cooperative beyond what is legally required, is exactly what gets people into serious trouble. So what are the 5 words? The 5 words are, I did not do anything. I know it sounds almost absurd when you see them written out like that. These 5 words feel so natural. They feel like the truth. You got pulled over for something you do not believe you did, and your first instinct is to say, Officer, I did not do anything wrong. But here is what you do not realize when those words come out of your mouth. First, you have just introduced the concept of guilt into the conversation. Even though you are asserting your innocence, you are now in a position where you are trying to convince the officer that you did not do something. That means you are engaging with the premise that something may have happened. You are now on defense, and the officer is the one asking the questions. Second, anything you say after that sentence can and will be used to build a case against you. The moment you start explaining yourself, you are providing details, admissions, and context that the officer is cataloging. Officers are trained to listen for inconsistencies, and the more you talk, the more chances there are for you to say something that does not line up. Third, and this is the part seniors especially do not see coming, if you say I did not do anything and the officer finds something during the stop, whether it is an outdated registration sticker, a brake light that burned out without you knowing, or a prescription bottle in the cup holder, your opening statement of innocence now looks like a lie. And that changes everything. So what should you do instead? It is simpler than you think, and it is completely legal. When the officer approaches your window, you hand over your license, your registration, and your proof of insurance because the law requires that. You say nothing beyond a polite greeting. If the officer asks you questions like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" or "Where are you headed tonight?" you do not have to answer. You can say politely and calmly, "I prefer not to answer questions without a lawyer present." That is it. You are not being rude. You are not being difficult. You are exercising a constitutional right that every American has, regardless of age. Now I want to address something directly, because I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, "But I was always taught that if you have nothing to hide, you should just be honest with the police." And I respect that value deeply. But here is the legal reality. The Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution gives you the right to remain silent precisely because the system recognizes that people can incriminate themselves even when they are innocent. Innocent people are charged with crimes every single day in this country because they talked when they did not have to. Innocence is not a shield against a bad traffic stop. Knowledge of your rights is. Let me walk you through a scenario that plays out more often than most people know. A 72-year-old man gets pulled over for drifting slightly over the lane line. He is completely sober. He is a safe driver with 40 years of experience. The officer walks up and asks, "Sir, do you know why I stopped you?" The man, wanting to be cooperative and honest, says, "I am sorry, officer. I did not do anything on purpose. I think I may have just lost focus for a second. I have been a little tired lately." In that one exchange, this driver has just told the officer that he was not in full control of his vehicle, that he was driving while fatigued, and that he is apologizing for the incident, which implies acknowledgement. The officer now has enough to run an investigation into whether this driver should even be on the road. What started as a minor lane drift has now become a potential reckless driving situation, and possibly a conversation about whether this senior should have his license reviewed. This is not hypothetical. This is the kind of escalation that happens constantly, and it is entirely preventable. Now let us talk about a few other things seniors specifically need to know about their rights during a traffic stop, because the 5 words problem does not exist in isolation. You have the right to refuse a vehicle search. This is one of the most powerful rights you have, and most people do not use it. If an officer asks, "Do you mind if I take a look in your car?" that question means they do not have legal grounds to search without your permission. The moment you say yes, you have waived that right. It does not matter if there is nothing in your car. It does not matter if you are completely innocent. Consent to a search opens a door that is very hard to close. You can say, "Officer, I do not consent to a search of my vehicle." That is a complete, legal, and protected response. You also need to know that you cannot be legally detained for an unlimited amount of time during a traffic stop. A traffic stop must be limited in scope and duration to what is reasonably necessary to address the reason you were pulled over. If the officer is taking an unusually long time, asking questions unrelated to the traffic violation, or seems to be stalling, you have the right to calmly ask, "Am I being detained, or am I free to go?" That question is non-aggressive. It is not a challenge. It is a lawful question that the officer is required to answer. There is one more thing I want you to carry with you from this video. Do not apologize. I know this runs counter to everything your generation was taught about how to treat law enforcement, and I want to be clear that I am not telling you to be disrespectful. I am telling you that an apology, even a reflexive one, even one that feels automatic, can be interpreted as an admission. When you say "I am sorry, officer," the legal system can and does treat that as an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Instead, stay calm, stay neutral, be polite without offering any information beyond what is legally required, and remember that silence is not guilt. Silence is wisdom. So to recap everything we have covered today, the 5 words you must never say during a traffic stop are "I did not do anything," because those words invite investigation, provide the officer with a platform to question your honesty, and can turn a routine stop into something far more serious. Beyond that, always hand over your license, registration, and proof of insurance as required by law. Decline to answer investigative questions by calmly invoking your right to remain silent. Never consent to a vehicle search. Ask if you are being detained or free to go if the stop extends beyond its purpose. And never apologize in a way that could be read as an admission. You have rights. You earn those rights simply by being a citizen of this country. And knowing how to use them is not about being uncooperative with law enforcement. It is about protecting yourself in moments when the law is not automatically on your side, just because you are telling the truth. If this video opened your eyes to something you did not know before, I want to ask you to do one thing right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every single week we put out videos specifically designed to help you understand and exercise your legal rights. From traffic stops to police encounters to situations involving your property, your finances, and your freedom. These are rights that matter more as you get older, because the stakes are higher and the system is less forgiving than most people realize. Subscribe now so you never miss a video that could protect you or someone you love when it matters most.